It's the one position I tell fantasy owners to wait on every single season. Relief pitchers. Do you like to spend an early pick on a relief pitcher, or are you like me and you like to find all your value later in the draft? Hey, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome into the final ranks and analysis episode of the season. I wouldn't even really say ranks, more of just an analysis. I'm going to do this show just a little bit differently, but we're going to talk about closers, relief pitchers. We're going to really break down this position here real quick. If you're new to Headliner Nation, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle Richardson. Make sure that you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to Headliner Nation and you're subscribing for the first time, let us know in the comments below so we can welcome you. And make sure you also comment with questions, any players you think I missed, any questions you have about players that maybe I didn't have up here or I do. We're one of the most interactive fantasy shows here on YouTube, so we will get back to you and we will continue that dialogue. But for now, let's jump into this video a little bit. It's going to be a quick video. We're just going to go over a couple of points here real quick when it comes to relief pitchers. And over here on the side of me, this way, I do have some names over there listed for you. Some guys that I'm buying, some guys that I'm avoiding. And the reason for some of these names, let's jump into here real quick. So my basically tactic, okay, what I'm doing every single year with the relief pitcher position is I'm going to punt it at the beginning of the draft. I mean, unless you play like in a points league that gives you a ton of points for holds or saves or something along those lines, I'm not gonna draft guys like Kenley Jansen or ones that are higher than that, because I would much rather draft impact bats for my lineup or impact starting pitchers than I would be to draft closers. A lot of things can happen in the closer's position. Over the course of spring training, over the course of the first few weeks of the season, guys will get hurt, guys will be ineffective, they'll lose jobs, lots of things happen. So the number one thing you need to know is you need to know all of the setup men in Major League Baseball, whether you keep a tab or whether there's a website that you use that offers you some kind of a closer depth chart. Make sure you know all the setup men for each team, because they're going to be the next guys up. If someone gets hurt, goes down with an injury, ineffective, whatever it may be, you need to know who's going to be stepping up and taking over that spot. So if you do punt the position at the beginning of drafts like I do, and you wait till later to try and get value, then you know who you need to be targeting on the waiver wire or getting later in a draft if you do draft later in the season or later in the off season. So always keep that in mind. Always keep those guys around. Make sure you know who is who. Keep a close eye on the closers and relievers in Major League Baseball so you have an idea of who you need to jump on first. I also don't love getting into bullpens that are going to be maybe splitting time. And I've got a couple of those names on here. So closers to avoid, I do have Corey Knebel and Josh Hader from the Milwaukee Brewers, because these guys, they could jump back and forth. You could see one guy closing one day. You could see another one closing another day. It could be a lot of situational back and forth. It's another reason why I put Andrew Miller on this list. Andrew Miller is a fantastic player, and if he were to be the closer, I'd be all over that. Absolutely. But the problem is Jordan Hicks, who I have as a closer to buy, I believe will actually close games more often than what Andrew Miller will. Andrew Miller is going to be one of those relief pitchers like we've seen in the past, where he might face a few guys in the 8th. He might come in the 9th. Maybe there's a situation in the 7th inning where the starter just can't get out of it, bases loaded, close score, number 4 hitter is up and they need the best arm from the bullpen. That's Andrew Miller. Maybe he needs to come in and face a lefty. He can get both guys out, but he's a guy that can be used in situations a little bit more than what Jordan Hicks can. So I firmly believe Jordan Hicks is going to be a guy that's going to get a lot more shots at closing games and a lot more shots than what Andrew Miller will. Some closers I have up here to buy. I'm always looking for guys that I can buy on teams that are going to have a lot of wins. It seems like a really easy scenario to play out. It seems like one that you would always want. You want closers from really good teams, but I've found this year that there are some closers from some good teams that you could get pretty late in drafts, like Cody Allen right now, who is set to be the closer for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. He's a guy that's been going a lot later than what I've seen what I've seen other relief pitchers going. I don't know if we've just forgotten about him, but I think the Angels can sure be good enough out in the AL West. Obviously a tough division still, but they can be good enough out there to get him more than enough opportunities. And he was really overshadowed in Cleveland because of Andrew Miller. When Andrew Miller was in Cleveland, kind of overshadowed Cody Allen, and even though he put up really good numbers, just kind of forgot about him. So he's the guy that you want to be keeping an eye on. Archie Bradley is another guy that you want to keep an eye on as well. He wasn't supposed to be the closer to begin last season, but a fantastic year out of the bullpen. Should be the closer for the Arizona Diamondbacks this season, so he is a guy I firmly want to buy in as well. Michael Givens, some guys to avoid now. Michael Givens for the Baltimore Orioles, stepping in, taking over that spot. Don't love him there. They're not going to win a whole lot of games, so I'm staying away from him. Ken Giles, ooh. Now here's the thing. He's closing for Toronto now, but if you followed him, I mean, it's roller coaster. I'm a Detroit Tigers fan. When Todd Jones used to be the closer for the Tigers, they called him the roller coaster. And this guy is a roller coaster as well. So those are guys that I'm definitely staying away from. I also like to do a few mock drafts as well to kind of see where those guys are going and really paying attention to their ADPs. So I know, okay, these are guys that are going later. I know when I can target them, and then I can play the rest of the draft as a best player available type draft, because then I know what closers I can get towards the end. But working that waiver wire is absolutely key. Again, if you play in a points league where you get a lot of points per save, that's something obviously that changes this and alters this tactic a little bit. In a head-to-head league where you're facing normally just categories or something like that, you know what? I'll give up saves. I'll get rid of that one category. If I don't have the best closers, I'll get rid of that one category to make sure that I have guys that are great with getting me innings pitched, that are going to get me wins, that are going to build up some of those other categories, even though I'm going to punt that one. If I got to punt one category every single week to make sure the rest of my lineup is solid, I'll do that. I'll take one loss per week in those head-to-head category type leagues. In rotisserie leagues, again, alters it just a little bit as well, because you do want to make sure you have some decent closers, because you want to make sure you keep those ratios in your favor. Again, that's just kind of my that's how I go about relief pitchers. It's not perfect, and I know a lot of people like to get the relief pitchers early, and if you do, that's great. If it's something that works for you, keep doing it, but this is something that you can keep in mind. You can take a look at. Again, I've got guys listed here on the side of the screen that you should be taking a look at as well. Make sure you're building your own closer depth chart. You know your relievers, whether it be setup men, whether it be closer, so you always know who is going to be the next person up. Thanks for watching this episode, Relief Pitchers Analysis. If you liked what you saw, if you liked what you heard, hit the like button. Absolutely, we'd appreciate that. Make sure you also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Follow me on Twitter, comment below, all the good stuff, all the normal stuff. Thanks so much again. We'll see you on the next show.